Hey, welcome back. It's Dan Kennedy, photographer here. Today I wanted to talk to you about a reference folder. Do you know what a reference folder is? Have you got a reference folder? A reference folder really is just a folder of pictures of inspiration which live on your desktop. Something like this. I've used a reference folder for about 15 years, I reckon. So what happens is that when I get commissioned to do a photo shoot, I immediately dive into my reference folder and I start coming up with ideas. So maybe it's a male actor from the US who's flying over to London and I'm gonna get him for 45 minutes. So what am I gonna do with him? Photograph him just against a boring white wall with a flat light at the front? Or can I do something a little bit more interesting? Well, the first thing I do after doing a load of deep dives on where he's at right now, what film he's going to be in and what length his hair is and everything like that. Once I've done that, I jump into my reference folder and I start coming up with ideas. And in this reference folder are some crazy things. There's a dust sheet floating down, like a dust sheet from B&Q or Target or somewhere, just gently floating down through the air. And even though it's like a $2, £1 dust sheet, it's like a work of art, that picture. And that's in there just to help give me inspiration. The grays of the dust sheet and the shape of it floating down are super inspiring to me. So maybe I'll get a massive 20 feet piece of plastic and I'll float that down behind the actor when he arrives. So I just use it to come up with the beginnings of ideas. In here also is like some neon reflected in some puddles at night. And I might not actually shoot in neon at night, but I might kind of wet the floor of the black studio and reflect some neon light into those puddles that I make in the studio. So I'm kind of borrowing creative ideas and weaving those into the creative for my shoot. So I highly suggest that you get a reference folder if you haven't got one and just start screen grabbing, dumping anything from Instagram posts that you really like the look of through to screen grabs from images that you find online. And nothing is really original, I guess. But what I'm doing is taking various elements from my reference folder as inspiration. I'll give you a good example. I got commissioned to photograph Dua Lipa and the session was going to be in the record company offices in central London. And they looked really boring to me. Grey walls with a green plastic plant and some sort of recycle bins fixed to the wall. And I looked at it and thought, I don't know how creative I can be here. So I took to my reference folder and in it was a location, actually, some pictures of the inside of a location in East London. And I managed to persuade the record company to let us put Dua Lipa into a cab and take her over to this place called Dalston Heights, which was an amazing location. And that meant that my shoot was so much more elevated than being just in the boring record company offices with the grey painted wall and the plastic plant. So it was having that reference folder, being able to dive in to help spur on the creative process. In that case, ended up with me getting some much stronger imagery. And I think that will probably happen for you as well once you get your own reference folder and start using it as the first place to dive off to get some creative research. So if you get a reference folder, if you've already got one, let me know how it works for you in the comments. I'd love to hear about it.